Good afternoon. My name is George Sadek. I am the foreign law specialist at the Law Library of Congress, working on Arabic-speaking countries. This webinar focuses on the Houthi rebels group, or known as Houthis. The Houthis are a Shi'i non-state actor dominating northern Yemen. 70% of Yemenis live in Houthis-controlled areas. Over the past months, media outlets frequently mentioned Houthis in their news reports. However, no one knows who those people are, how they came to power, and what their legal and governing systems are. My presentation today will focus uh, on how the judicial, legislative, and governing administrative bodies work in areas controlled by Houthis. I will speak about the role of courts and the functions of the legislative bodies under Houthis. I will also provide a general overview of how Houthis use their own courts, governing, and legislative bodies to exert control over areas that they have seized by force from the central government. These are the points of discussion that I'm supposed to cover today. My presentation will offer a brief background about Houthis and how they seize control of northern Yemen. The presentation will highlight the functions of the legislative branch created by Houthis. Furthermore, it will describe how customary law tribunals, or what is known as tribal courts, work in Houthis controlled areas. Additionally, I will discuss amendments of a law on judiciary enacted recently by Houthis to eliminate the independence of the judicial authority. Also, today's presentation will shed light on challenges facing the ordinary court system in areas controlled by Houthis. It will cover the functions of the specialized criminal court system and the military court system under Houthis. Moreover, I will address regulations issued by Houthis administrative bodies that infringe on the civil liberties of Yemenis and discriminate against women. And lastly, I will talk about how Houthis violated Yemeni domestic legislation regulating child marriage and banning the recruitment of child soldiers. On this slide, I put a map of Yemen to give you an idea where the country is located. As you can see from the map on the bottom of this slide, Yemen is colored in green and is located in the midst between Asia and Africa. It is located near Iran, Saudi Arabia, and the state of Oman are the direct neighbors of Yemen. Yemen has ports on the Red Sea and located on the Bab el-Mandab Strait. We have another map here. This map on the slide shows Houthis controlled areas in northern Yemen. Those areas are colored in red. As I mentioned earlier, according to uh, uh, the Economist, that 70% of Yemenis, uh, 30 million people, live in areas controlled by Houthis. According to the UN Food Program, Yemen face a food crisis. The UN Food Program claims that more than 17 million Yemenis don't know if or when they will eat another meal. An estimated 80% of the population live below the poverty line. It is important to note that Houthis used Yemen geographical location to attack commercial ships in the Red Sea since November of 2023. This map created by the USA Today shows the locations of Houthis attacks on commercial ships in the Red Sea. Also in November 2023, Houthis seized a cargo ship called the Galaxy Leader and abducted its 25 crew members. The crew members were released just last week. In June of 2024, Houthis decided to abduct 11 UN aid workers and accused them of being spies for Western countries. On January 22 of 2025, I'm talking here about just last week, President Trump issued an executive order designated Houthis as a foreign terrorist organization. So the question here is, who are Houthis? According to the Wilson Center, Houthis are a large clan originating from the Sada province, northern Yemen. They are Shi'i Muslims and they make around 35% of the Yemeni population. Houthis also call themselves Ansar Allah, or in English, the defenders of God. The spiritual father of Houthis in modern day history is Hussein Badruddin al-Houthi. I have a picture here on the slide for Hussein Badruddin al-Houthi. Under former Yemeni President Ali Abdullah Saleh, who was the president of Yemen between 1995 and 2012, Houthis were discriminated against and marginalized. In 2003, they began a militant rebellion against former President Saleh, which led to the death of Hussein Badruddin al-Houthi in September of 2004. Houthis' current leader is Abdel Malik al-Houthi. He is the younger brother of Hussein Badruddin al-Houthi. Abdel Malik al-Houthi became a leader of the group after, or the leader of the group after, or the Houthis, after the death of his older brother. I have a picture here also for Abdel Malik al-Houthi. Iran, which is a Shi'i country, supported Houthis who are also Shi'is during their militant rebellion against former President Ali Abdullah Saleh, who was a Sunni Muslim. This support increased after Houthis seized the capital Sana'a and had full control over northern Yemen and the Hodeidah port on the Red Sea. Before I go to our next slide, I want to provide an important piece of information here that the Islamic religion has two sects, which are Sunnah and Shia. Saudi Arabia is a Sunni country. Iran is a Shi'i country. Sunni Muslims represent between 85 and 90% of the Islamic world, while Shi'i Muslims represent between 10 and 15% of Muslims worldwide. So how Houthis view the United States? Houthis are hostile to the United States. Their motto is death to America. They have attempted to attack American naval ships in the Red Sea. Members of Houthis express their hostile views against the United States by burning the American flags in public protests in the streets of Sana'a, the capital of Yemen. Houthis also share the same hostile uh, uh, views, feelings against the state of Israel. Over the past year, they attacked the Israeli cities with drones and ballistic missiles multiple times. I'm including here on this slide a couple of photos from the Houthis' public protests. So how Houthis came to power and how they were able to seize the capital of Yemen, Sana'a. In February 2011, the Yemeni people began massive street protests demanding President Ali Abdullah Saleh, the former president of Yemen, to leave office. Members of the legislative branch, and I mean here members of the Yemeni House of Representatives, did not support the protests and sided with the president at the beginning. However, when the protests turned into a civil disobedience, which put more pressure on the president to leave office, some of the members of the Yemeni parliament switched sides. By the summer of 2012, it was obvious that President Saleh lost the support of most members of the legislative branch and decided to leave office in June of 2012. He transferred the power to his vice president, Abdurrabbu Hadi. And I have a picture for here for President Saleh and President Hadi, or Vice President Hadi. According to the Wilson Center, President Hadi enjoyed little popular support in Yemen. Accordingly, Houthis took advantage of the weakness of President Hadi's regime by consolidating their territorial control in northern Yemen and marched with their militia towards Sana'a, the capital. In September 2014, Houthis took over the capital of Yemen, Sana'a, by occupying the city and the government buildings, including the presidential palace and the building of the Yemeni parliament. Houthis put President Hadi and his cabinet under house arrest. They also limited the movement of members of parliament loyal to President Hadi. However, President Hadi and some of his cabinet members were able to escape to Saudi Arabia. As a side note, I would like to add that on April 7 of 2022, a presidential leadership council of 8 members replaced President Hadi to govern areas in Yemen where Houthis are not in control. In February 2015, Houthis issued the 2015 Constitution Declaration after abolishing the Yemeni constitution. The declaration was issued by an entity that called itself the Revolutionary Committee. The head of the committee, or this committee, was Muhammad Ali al-Houthi. He's the cousin of Abdul Malik al-Houthi, the current leader of Houthis. Here is a picture of Muhammad Ali al-Houthi. The reason for issuing such constitutional declaration, according to the committee, is to arrange the status of state authorities and fill the power vacuum after President Hadi and his cabinet left Sana'a, the capital. The Constitutional Declaration under Article 6 established a legislative body that was called the National Transnational Council. This council consisted of 551 members and replaced the Yemeni parliament, or what was called at the time the Yemeni House of Representatives. Article 8 of the Constitution Declaration removed the position of the president and created an entity called the Presidential Council, which was composed of 5 people. Pursuant to Article 10 of the same declaration, the Presidential Council was responsible for appointing anyone who deemed suitable to form a cabinet. So far, Houthis have not issued a permanent constitution in areas under their control. In June of 2016, the Revolutionary Committee, headed by Houthis, replaced the Presidential Council with another governing body. This new governing body was called the Supreme Political Council. The council is in charge of all responsibilities of the president. The political council has jurisdiction over all areas under Houthis' control. One of the main functions of the Supreme Council is to form a cabinet. In August of 2024, the head of the Yemeni Supreme Political Council, Mahdi al-Mashat, announced the formation of a new cabinet and the appointment of a prime minister. The cabinet included 21 ministries or 21 departments, whatever you want to call it. And this is a photo here on this slide for the members of the Supreme Political Council during one of their meetings. After toppling the central government, Houthis, as I mentioned, abolished the Yemeni House of Representatives and created their own legislative body. Houthis persecuted members of the House of Representatives loyal to President Hadi. They have issued a decree to confiscate the properties of 35 members of the Yemeni House of Representatives because those members were not loyal to Houthis. Courts controlled by Houthis also executed 11 former members of the Yemeni House of Representatives for communicating with President Hadi after he escaped the Houthis' house arrest. In February 2019, Houthis changed the name of their legislative body from the National Transnational Council to the Yemeni House of Representatives. It's important to note that Yemen currently has two legislative bodies or two House of Representatives. The two legislative bodies issue different laws and have two different speakers. One legislative body affiliated with the Houthis and a second legislative body that issues laws in areas outside Houthis' control. The United Nations doesn't recognize the Houthis' legislative body as a legitimate legislative branch of government. Also, the Arab Parliamentary Organization does not accept the membership of the legislative body established by Houthis. I put on this slide the seal of Houthis' legislative body. I also put a picture of the head of the Supreme Political Council, Mahdi al-Mashat. I also included a photo of Abdel Malik al-Houthi, who is the de facto ruler of north of Yemen and the leader of Houthis. All laws or regulations that are passed by the legislative branch must be reviewed and approved in advance by Abdel Malik al-Houthi. So over the past slide, I talked about the legislative body of the of Houthis or Houthis rebel group. In the next slides, I will talk about judiciary under Houthis. I would like to begin with a recent law that was issued by Houthis in September of 2024. This law regulates the work of the judiciary. The new law is Law Number 1 of 2024, amends Law Number 1 of 1991 on the work of the judicial authority. According to the Sana'a Center of Strategic Studies, the new law violates the principle of separation of powers. It allowed the Supreme Political Council, which acts as the Presidential Council or as the president, to appoint any person for the position of a judge. This person doesn't need to have a law degree or graduate from the higher judicial institute. The only qualification requirement to work as a judge under the new law is the person's deep knowledge of Islamic law. Under the old abolished law on judicial authority, the person who is appointed for the position of a judge must have a law degree and graduate from the higher judicial institute. The new law also authorizes judges to suspend lawyers from practicing law for up to 3 years. Judges who issue their decision to suspend lawyers from practicing law have no obligation to provide justification for such decision. The General Secretariat of the Arab Lawyers Union rejected the new law on judicial authority. The union has described the new law as unconstitutional and demanded the protection of lawyers and the independence of the judiciary. According to a report issued by the Sana'a Center for Strategic Studies, the current judicial system under Houthis face multiple challenges. The Sana'a Center claims that the armed conflict between the Houthis militia and troops loyal to President Hadi, which allied themselves with the armed forces of neighboring countries, had a negative impact on the physical infrastructure of the court system. The report of the Sana'a Center states that due to the armed conflict, several court buildings were destroyed and many court buildings suffered a shortage of electricity. According to another report issued by the International Legal Assistance Consortium in 2019, Houthis announced that the estimated cost of physical damage of judicial buildings is about 100 million US dollars. The same report states that courts operating in areas under the control of Houthis also suffer a shortage of judges, prosecutors, and administrative staff. In some criminal cases, judges had to proceed with the criminal trial without a prosecutor due to the shortage of prosecutors. Additionally, judges and prosecutors don't feel safe and worried about their personal safety. As a prime example of a lack of judges' personal safety, in September of 2022, unknown gunmen abducted and killed Judge Muhammad Humran, a judge at the Yemeni Supreme Court. The Supreme Court is the highest court in the Yemeni court system. As a result of the judge's assassination, members of the judiciary and public prosecution conducted a strike protesting such lack of adequate security measures. And lastly, according to the Sana'a Center, judges, court staff, and public prosecutors face a dire economic challenges due to the significant reduction of their salaries. Houthis used intimidation tactics to guarantee the loyalty of judges. They wanted to ensure that judges will always follow their instructions when adjudicating legal dispute or hearing a criminal case. And let me give you an example here. Houthi security forces have detained Judge Abdulwahab Qatran for 5 months after criticizing their policies. According to Amnesty International, Houthis accused the judge of manufacturing alcoholic drinks, which is a criminal offense under the Yemeni Penal Code. Houthis have suspended judges who are or who were considered not loyal to them. For instance, in June of 2021, Muhammad Ali al-Houthi appointed himself as the head of a judicial inspection committee called the Judicial System. The committee's main mission was to monitor the work of judges and fire them if they are not meeting the committee's expectation. As I mentioned before, Muhammad Ali al-Houthi is the cousin of the leader, the Houthi leaders, Abdul Malik al-Houthi, and oversees the judiciary. This is another photo of Muhammad Ali al-Houthi. Muhammad Ali al-Houthi also decided to suspend 70 judges. Those judges did not belong to the Houthis clan and were not affiliated with the Shia sect of Islam. Furthermore, Muhammad Ali al-Houthi has prohibited any person who is not affiliated with the Shia sect of Islam and don't belong to Houthis from applying for the position of a judge. Houthis did not abolish the specialized criminal court system which was operating under former President Ali Abdullah Saleh. In fact, they used the specialized criminal courts to suppress their political opponents. But before I talk about how Houthis used the specialized criminal courts to get rid of opposition, I would like to explain the work of the specialized criminal courts and their jurisdiction. The specialized criminal court were created by a presidential decree number 391 of 1999, issued by former Yemeni President Ali Abdullah Saleh. The specialized criminal courts, the system is a three-tier system. It includes a first instance court, a court of appeal, verdicts issued by the criminal specialized court of appeal will be appealed before the Supreme Court. The specialized criminal court have jurisdiction over crimes of abductions of foreigners, piracy, destruction of properties, arson, bombings, armed trafficking, membership of an organized crime group, assault against members of the judicial authority, crimes against the national security of the state, and crimes against the Yemeni society and the economic interest of the country. Based on Muwatna for Human Rights, it is a non-governmental Yemeni human rights organization which is not located not located in the areas controlled by Houthis. They are located actually outside those areas. So what I'm saying here is Houthis, according to Muwatna, Houthis have used the specialized criminal court system to target political opponent, according to Muwatna. Muwatna for Human Rights also claimed that under Houthis' control, the specialized criminal court issued death sentences against multiple individuals during criminal trials that lacked minimum fair trial requirements. And let me give you a couple of examples here. In August of 2022, in August of 2020, the specialized criminal court in Sana'a, the capital of Yemen, imposed the death penalty on 16 defendants after convicting them of the assassination of one of the leaders of the Houthis clan. Additionally, in late August 2021, the same court issued a death sentence against 11 people, including 2 women, after Houthis accused them of acting as spies to troops loyal to President Hadi. And lastly, according to Amnesty International, the specialized criminal court also targeted religious minorities. The court has sentenced to death a person who believes in the Baha'i faith after convicting him of attempting to convert some other person from the Muslim religion to the Baha'i religion. This picture here on the slide is from one of the hearings of the specialized criminal court. So over the past slide, I talked about the specialized criminal court system. On this slide, I will discuss 2 important cases heard by this court system. In both cases, the court ignored the rights of the accused person. The first case that I would like to address is the Fatma El-Arwali case. Al-Arwali was the former head of the Yemen Office of Women Leadership Union of the Arab League and was active in promoting women's rights. On August 13 of 2022, Houthi security forces arrested Fatima Al-Arwali at a checkpoint in the Al Taiz province, southwestern Yemen. She was detained for 8 months without trial. On July 31st of 2023, the public prosecution charged Al-Arwali with aiding enemy troops, which is an obscure criminal offense against the state, and transferred the case file to the specialized criminal court. According to Amnesty International, the judge of the specialized court refused to record the presence of Ms. Al-Arwali's lawyer during the court session. The judge told her that there was no need for a lawyer to represent her. Al-Arwali's lawyer was also banned from visiting her during the pre-trial detention. Amnesty has stated that Al-Arwali requested from the court to see her children, but the court refused. The specialized criminal court has found Al-Arwali guilty of crimes against the state and sentenced her to death. The second case that I want to talk about today is Adnan al-Harazi case. Al-Harazi used to own a company that surveys people's opinions about different political topics. On January 11, 2023, security forces affiliated with Houthis raided al-Harazi's workplace. They searched the premises and confiscated the company's servers and computers without providing him with a search warrant. Al-Harazi spent months in pre-trial detention facility without a trial. Then he was charged with committing offense against the security of the state. Al-Harazi was accused of participating in a criminal conspiracy with the enemy, another obscure criminal offense. He was also charged with the offense of communicating with a foreign country at war with Houthis. Similar to Fatima al-Arwari case, in June of 2024, the Specialized Criminal Court has sentenced Adnan al-Harazi to death and ordered the confiscation of his funds and properties. Over the past couple of slides, I talked about the specialized criminal court system. On this slide, I will talk about the military court system under Houthis. Military courts in Houthis controlled areas have applied two pieces of legislation that were enacted under former President Ali Abdullah Saleh. Both laws grant military courts jurisdiction over crimes committed by military personnel. Those two laws are Presidential Decree number 7 of 1996 on the Code of Military Criminal Procedure and Law number 21 of 1998 on the Military Penal Code. The punishment cited under Law number 21 of 1998 on the Military Penal Code are flogging, stoning until death, and imprisonment. Like the specialized criminal court system, the military court system is a three-tier system which includes the military courts of first instance, military court of appeal, and the Supreme Military Court. Houthis have used the military court to go after military officers loyal to President Hadi. I would like to give you a couple of examples here. In February 2023, a military court in Yemen's capital, Sana'a, sentenced in absentia Defense Minister Lieutenant General Mohsen Eldari and 29 military officers to death on charges of cooperating with President Hadi and the enemies of Houthis. The court also ordered the confiscation of the properties of those military officers. In another case, in October of 2023, Houthis used military court system to prosecute in absentia Ahmed Ali Saleh, the son of former Yemeni President Ali Abdullah Saleh. Ahmed Saleh used to be an army officer. The military court charged him with crimes of espionage, embezzlement, and exploitation of public office. It's also important to note at the end of this slide that Houthis killed the former President Ali Abdullah Saleh in December of 2017. In addition to the regular court system, Houthis decided to promote a parallel court system. They call that parallel court system the customary law tribunals or tribal courts. The tribal courts do not cancel the regular court system. Both systems exist together. Tribal courts existed under former President Ali Abdullah Saleh. However, those courts were not used as much among Yemenis. According to the Sharq al-Awsat or the Middle East News, the idea of promoting the concept of parallel court system among Yemenis initiated by Muhammad Ali al-Houthi, the cousin of the leader of Houthis, Abd al-Malik al-Houthi, and we talked about Muhammad Ali al-Houthi over the past slides. Judges of the tribal courts are not required to have any law degree. They could be religious clerks, tribal leaders, or provincial officials. The tribal courts aim at settling legal disputes through tribal arbitration and rules of conflict resolution without binding on any codified laws. Parties of a legal dispute present their argument to the tribal judge verbally before other tribal men. No lawyers are involved. The tribal judge hears each party and then issues his verdict. Verdicts of the tribal court could be appealed. A report issued by the Middle East Eye claims that the tribal courts are considered by many Yemenis residing in Houthis-controlled areas as quicker and cheaper judicial system. In addition to tribal courts, Houthis have created inside each first instance court of the regular court system what is called as a peace judge. This peace judge hears the claims of individuals involved in a legal dispute and renders his decision before the first instance court hears their claims. I put here on this slide a picture for tribal men waiting for their cases to be heard before one of the tribal courts. Over the past slides, I talked about judiciary under Houthis. On this slide, I will talk briefly about two court cases in which a criminal court controlled by Houthis imposed the death penalty as well as the penalty of public flogging against members of the LGBT community. In December of 2023, Houthi security forces arrested 32 men, accusing them of committing the crime of sodomy under the Yemeni Penal Code. A criminal court sentenced 9 out of the 32 defendants, in this case, to death. The court decided that 7 defendants out of the 9 will be stoned until death, and 2 other defendants in the same case will die by crucifixion. It has also sentenced the rest of the defendants to 10 years of imprisonment. According to the Middle East Online, the same criminal court has also imposed the penalty of public flogging against 3 defendants of the LGBT community for convicting after convicting them of inciting morality, inciting immorality. And lastly, I want to talk briefly about the enforcement of public execution carried out by Houthis security forces. As an example of public death penalties, in September of 2021, Houthis security forces executed 9 people, including 17 years old boy in the Tahrir Square located in the city of Sana'a. The public execution took place by firing squads, according to news reports. And this is a photo of a group of individuals before their public execution. Governing bodies affiliated with Houthis have issued administrative instructions regulating the regular life of Yemenis. Those instructions sometimes violated the civil liberties of Yemeni citizens living in areas controlled by Houthis. And let me give you some examples of those administrative instructions. Local municipalities have issued instructions for public restaurants and stores to separate male and female clients. They also put restrictions on what type of advertisements could be displayed in public and even controlled the colors used in those advertisements. Moreover, local municipalities established its own police force to monitor the enforcement of those instructions and prevent men and women to speak to each other in public. Houthis have also issued multiple administrative instructions related to the educational sector. To illustrate what I'm talking about here, the Department of Education affiliated with Houthis has cancelled all music classes from the academic curriculum in elementary, middle, and high schools. Similarly, the department ordered all elementary, middle, and high schools to physically separate male and female students in classrooms and during school's lunch breaks. The department applies the same rules on male and female university students. Additionally, the Department of Education under Houthis requires male university students to adopt specific haircuts and warns that violators will be expelled from their academic institutions. Lastly, based on an order issued by the leader of Houthis, Abdel Malik al-Houthi, the Department of Education has abolished foreign languages studies from all levels of education, including the university level. Lastly, security forces affiliated with Houthis created what is known as the Morality Police Force. The main mission of this force is to monitor women dress code in public. The force had confiscating some female clothing from stores because they violate the dress code that Houthis determined for women. This actually will lead us to our next slide about regulations issued by Houthis to discriminate against women. But before I go to the next slide, I would like to refer to an interesting photo on this one. This photo shows instructions issued by the Department of Education affiliated with Houthis, compelling male university students to adopt specific haircuts. Those haircuts are drawn on a paper displayed on the walls of the University of Sana'a. Houthis governing bodies have issued multiple regulations and instructions discriminating against women. According to Muatna for Human Rights Organization, women are prevented from traveling alone within the provinces controlled by Houthis. A woman must be accompanied by her brother, father, or husband during her travel from one province to another. Houthi security forces also demand any man traveling with a woman to prove that he is her brother, father, or husband by showing a birth or a marriage certificate. Muatna for Human Rights also claims that Houthi security forces confiscate the identification documents, including women's passport, during, I'm sorry, those women, including they basically confiscate the passports of women who are traveling without a male companion. They also obligate those women to sign a pledge stating that they will never travel alone again. And in case of repetition, those women will be facing the penalty of imprisonment. Moreover, according to the Human Rights Watch and Watna for Human Rights, Houthis prevent women to access reproductive health care in many areas under their control. Women were prohibited from receiving medical counseling on family planning methods, the sale of birth control pills, and other methods used for family planning. Houthis justified those measures by claiming that family planning is against their religious beliefs. Houthis expelled women from private workplaces and prevented them from applying to any work position. And for instance, Houthi security forces have raided private workplaces, including stores and restaurants, to ensure that no women working on those places. Similarly, Houthis banned women from working in governing bodies under their control. According to Muatna for Human Rights, the local government of Al Hudaydah province issued an administrative instruction banning women from working in public positions in the province. Houthis also criminalized the possession of, uh, um, of mobile phones by women. According to Muwatna for Human Rights, Houthis imposed a fine of 200,000 Yemeni riyals, about 800 US dollars, on any man whose wife, daughter, sister owns a mobile phone. Among regulations that discriminate against women are the ones controlling women clothing. As you can see from the picture on this slide, women are wearing black and covering their faces. According to the Arab newspaper, Houthis ban women from wearing any colorful clothing and require them to wear black clothing and cover their faces. Women who don't follow this dress code face jail sentence. In an infamous case that took place in 2021, Houthi security forces arrested Intisar al-Hamdi, a 21-year-old model, while driving her car. I have a picture here for Miss al-Hamdi. Al-Hamdi regularly did photo shoots for local fashion designers, often without a headscarf, and shared photos with her followers on Instagram and Facebook. The first instance criminal court in Sana'a, the capital, has sentenced Al Hamdi to 5 years in prison after convicting her of committing indecent acts and drug possession. The Court of Appeal upheld the verdict of the first instance court. Intisar Al Hamdi's lawyer and non governmental organizations monitoring the case have described those accusations as false and violation of women's freedom. Her lawyer also stated that those accusations are not based on any evidence. In the last slide of my presentation, I want to talk about how Houthis violated the Yemeni domestic legislation governing the issue of child marriage and the issue of child soldiers. And let me illustrate here. Yemen always suffered from a child marriage problem. Article 15 of the Yemeni Family Law, Law number 24 of 1999, has determined the age of consent to be 15 years old. However, Houthis violated Article 15 by allowing girls as young as 8 years old to be forced to get married. According to the UNICEF Regional Director of Middle East and North Africa, estimated incidents of young girls forced into marriage have increased by 20% after the Houthis took control over the capital in 2014. The second issue that I want to address on this slide is the requirement, the requirement to recruit of children to join the Houthis militia. Article 1 of Yemeni law number 22 of 1990 on military service has determined the age of military service to be 18 years of age. Houthis violated this law by recruiting children as young as 13 to join their militia. According to the Middle East newspaper, some children were kidnapped and forced to be drafted into Houthis militia. Additionally, some families forced their children to join the Houthis militia in exchange for monthly financial support or food supplies. Thank you, everyone, for your time. Next webinar, judicial reform in Pakistan, surrounding challenges and implications, will take place on February 27, 2025. I think we have some time here to take questions before the end of the presentation. If you have any questions after the day of this presentation, please send them to Ask the Librarian link on this slide. Let me get the questions here. The first question says, does any international organization or country recognize Houthis as the legitimate government of Yemen? To my best knowledge, international and regional organizations such as the Arab League do not recognize Houthis as the legitimate government of Yemen. The same approach also applies to countries as well. No countries except the country of Iran uh, recognize Houthis as the legitimate government of Yemen. It was reported that Iran is the only country that supports Houthis politically and militarily. I think we have also another question here. You talked about two parallel judicial system under Houthis. Do regular courts recognize decisions issued by tribal courts and vice versa? Also, could someone transfer the case from one judicial system to another? This is actually a very good question. I have not read any reports stating that the regular courts recognize the verdicts issued by tribal courts or vice versa. In response to your second question about the transfer of cases, yes, parties in a judicial dispute may transfer their case between both judicial systems. Uh, I I'm not aware of any legal prohibition banning individuals from doing so. Let me get also another question here. Could law enforcement personnel enforce a decision issued by a tribal court? Theoretically, law enforcement personnel enforce court decisions issued by a regular court and not a tribal court. However, due to the current security situation in areas under the control of Houthis, there is a lack in enforcement of verdicts. Accordingly, many Yemenis, and this is based on news reports, many Yemenis prefer to submit their legal disputes before the tribal courts. They believe it is a fairer and more efficient system that tribal men have the actual power and authority to enforce verdicts issued by tribal courts. Let me get another question here. Could you talk about the structure of the regular court system in Yemen? The court system in Yemen is a three-tier or three-level system. First instance court, court of appeal, and the Supreme Court. The first instant court is where initial disputes are heard and settled by one judge. Decisions of the first instance court may be appealed before the Court of Appeal. The panel of the Court of Appeal consists of three bench judges, a presiding judge, and two other judges. The Court of Appeal also consists of different chambers, including a criminal law chamber, a family law chamber, and a civil law chamber. The Supreme Court is located or supposed to be located in the capital Sana'a. The court adjudicates a petition of appeal of verdicts issued by the Court of Appeal, and the Supreme Court here consists of 7 judges. I think we have time to take more questions. Do tribal court have jurisdiction over criminal offenses? Yes, the answer is yes. Tribal courts have jurisdiction over criminal offenses. I did read about a criminal incident of a child rape that took place in June of 2024. Tribal leaders issued a verdict in this case. However, the family of the victim rejected this verdict because the tribal judge decided that the offender, who is 29 years old, must marry the victim, who is 9 years old. The family decided to transfer the case, and this is actually responding to the earlier question. They decided to transfer the case to a regular criminal court. The security forces arrested the offender. The criminal court, and I'm talking here the first instance criminal court, sentenced the offender to 15 years of imprisonment and ordered him to pay a fine of 6 million Yemeni riyals, which is about 22,000 US dollars. The family didn't like uh, the uh, uh, the court decision, and the Yemeni law gives the victims of the family in criminal cases the right to appeal the verdicts issued by the first instance court, and this is actually what happened now, that they appealed the case, and the case is still being adjudicated in the Yemeni court system. There is no final decision. I think we have some time still, so we can have more questions here. Um, you talked about tribal courts and the regular court system in Yemen, but you did not mention Islamic law. Is Islamic law a part of the Yemeni legal system? Yes, the legal system of Yemen is a mixture of French Napoleonic codes, tribal tradition, and of course, Islamic law. Islamic law play actually a key role in the Yemeni legal system. Rules of Islamic law govern matters of family law, including divorce, marriage, and child custody. Rules of Islamic law also govern the penal code. As I mentioned during my presentation, under the new law on the work of judicial authority, the main qualification of a judge is his deep knowledge of Islamic law. Islamic law also govern child legitimation and inheritance and other aspects of the family law in Yemen. I think we have just 1 minute, and we can have one more question here. Did Houthi issued any laws, regulation to restrict the access of internet? Of course, yes. Houthis restricted access to the internet. They required Yemenis to take a course offered by the Department of Communication affiliated with Houthis before granting anyone an access to internet. According to the counter-extremism project in 2017, Houthis banned all news websites that uh, haven't obtained their approval or permission. They also prohibited any websites in general that publish information that they don't like or they don't approve. I think that this time. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a good day.